I say KSI and Ali and Toys and Me, how many people really know what I'm talking about? Okay, a few of you. So these are three of the biggest YouTubers or social media influencers in the UK. So KSI on the left, he's most famous for gaming videos and for having a boxing match with an American YouTuber, and that was the biggest ever pay-per-view event on the internet, in the history of the internet. Ali A in the middle is a gamer, and if you have kids that play Fortnite, they'll definitely know of Ali A. He's been playing for games years and years. And on the right-hand side is Tiana Wilson, and Tiana is the most popular girl in the world on YouTube. So just to give you a quick summary of what I'm going to talk about today, there's two things. First of all, I'm going to talk about the rapid rise in social media influencers. And secondly, I'm going to talk about my experience working with these guys and some of the things that you can learn and some of the opportunities that exist. I think we're going to have time for questions at the end, so if there's anything you want to know, just let me know. So just to give you a background in terms of who I am, I have two roles. The first is I'm the chairman of the Business of Influencers, and the Business of Influencers is a UK network connecting all of the key players in influencer marketing. So that's talent managers, it's influencer marketing agencies, and influencer marketing platforms. My second role is as the founder and the CEO of The Social Store, and The Social Store are pioneering new licensing opportunities with social media influencers. So the biggest of these is a girl called Tiana, who I mentioned at the start, and we launched a brand with her at Brand Licensing Europe in October, and that's called Hearts by Tiana. And the aim is to create a tween brand that sits across apparel, nightwear, bags, accessories, and we are going to do a huge launch in the UK at a big retailer in May, and by the end of the year we're expected to have Hearts by Tiana products across 3,000 stores across the UK. So if you haven't heard of Tiana now and you have kids, I'm sure you would have heard of her by the end of the year. So just to start and give you a broad overview of where we are in the UK and the scale of the market and connected devices, we're a really connected country. 85% of us have smartphones, 78% have laptops, and 68% have access to tablets. And what that means is that 90% of us are accessing the internet every day. We're spending an average of 5 hours 50 online, and we're spending an hour and 54 minutes on average on social media every single day. But if I talk about the UK's most active social media platform, it may surprise you to know that in fact it's actually YouTube that sits at the top. So more people in the UK use and watch YouTube ahead of any other social media network. Now some of the stats around YouTube are really quite impressive. So more than half of the views on YouTube are via mobile devices, and that's because of the development and the evolution of smartphones. The quality of the screens are so good now that we can watch content on there for a long period of time, and in fact the average mobile viewing time is more than 20 minutes on YouTube. But also what's really amazing is that there's more people that watch YouTube every single day than watch some of the biggest shows. So the finals of the Bake Off and X Factor, more people are watching YouTube than watch those shows on TV. In terms of what's next, a platform for you to watch out for is TikTok. So this is a Chinese platform. It's very popular with kids at the moment, and it's growing really fast. And the key thing, one of the new things about TikTok is that the screen is portrait and not landscape in terms of the viewing and the videos. But across all social media platforms, one of the key trends and one of the key things that's really driving it and driving the change is the fact that independent creators dominate the platform. So whilst all of the big media companies, the Disneys, Nickelodeons, Sony, Universal, they all have some properties that exist on YouTube. And brands are on there too. All of the biggest brands have branded content, whether it's Red Bull. It's independent creators that are driving the platform forwards. And in fact, there's more than 100,000 people around the world that make a living from creating content on YouTube. One of the big changes that I've seen in the last year, which is really fascinating, is how some of the biggest movie stars are also embracing YouTube. So 3 examples here: Will Smith, Dwayne Johnson, and Jack Black. Now, the youngest person there is Dwayne Johnson at 46, but these guys have all recognized the importance of social media platforms, owning their own audience, and creating content. And the three creators, what I really like about what they've done is they've created content that's bespoke for that platform. They haven't tried to shoehorn in highly produced film footage for YouTube and for Instagram. They've created personal content which really sits well on the platform. In terms of YouTube consumption across the UK, I've got two sets of data here to spread across the full age group. So on the left-hand side, we have kids up to the age of 15, and this data comes from Ofcom. And you can see that as kids get older and older, they spend more and more time with YouTube. And then the older age groups, particularly the millennials, these guys are on YouTube almost every day, and the penetration is nearly 100% now. From a kid's perspective, even in the last week, these are 4 headlines that I took from the press around just how powerful YouTube is. It's the #1 kids content platform at the moment. More kids watch YouTube than TV and Netflix combined. To break that down just a little bit further in terms of more stats. So we know that kids' TV viewing has declined, but 93% of kids have access to a connected device now. And for 12 to 15-year-olds, they see YouTube as their #1 content platform, ahead of ITV, ahead of Netflix. To put it into context, and just to show you how big YouTube stars are and how many people watch their content versus other forms of content, I want to use one example with Tiana. So Tiana's video, she does a video almost every single day that goes onto YouTube. And her average video has 5 million views around the world. This one here, I think, has more than 80 million views now. And with 5 million views around the world, if we break that down and just look at the UK viewers, there's more than 1 million people that in the UK, more than 1 million kids that watch Tiana's video. On the right-hand side now is a chart which shows how those 1 million people, or more than 1 million people, compare to the highest rated TV shows on cable platforms. So we've got CBBC, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and the Disney Channel, and these are the top rated shows on those channels in a week. And typically, the top rated show has 100,000 people watching it. More than 1 million kids in the UK almost every day watch Tiana's content. And it's not just clicking on and clicking off. The average video is 7 minutes long, the average minute view time. So what is it that makes these YouTube stars so addictive, or why are they so popular? And there's 4 key things. The first thing is that they're relatable. So these are typically everyday people that go about their normal life. They share the pros, the cons, the goods and the bads of what they do in their life. And kids and adults really relate to this content. The second thing is how they engage with their audience. So when I grew up and I would watch a movie or a band play, there was absolutely no way for me to interact with that talent. But now with comments, with direct messages, there's so much more engagement that fans can have with their stars. Now these talent are also very transparent about their lives and what goes on, and that's very different to a movie star where it's all fake and superimposed. And then finally, and this is really important when it comes to marketing and influencer marketing, is that they're very authentic. So they talk about products that they care about, and they know that if they're not authentic with the content they create, then their audience will quickly turn off them. So if we now talk about marketing and influencer marketing, the definition of an influencer is someone who has the power to affect a purchase decision. And influencer marketing is a form of marketing where the focus is placed on the influential person. So the simple economics of how this works is that a business, so for example like a cosmetics company, they'll identify an influencer to work with, they'll pay them a sum of money, and the influencer will promote that product. Now we're seeing huge growth in influencer marketing over the last couple of years, and the money that's being spent with influencers is huge. So Instagram posts, one post on Instagram can be more than £100,000 depending on who that influencer is. But when we look at the statistics and we speak to the marketeers, 94% believe that it's an effective channel, and nearly half are expecting to grow their revenue year on year. And that's because they can see that this influencer marketing is delivering a real return on investment versus other forms of marketing. But in terms of how I expect that to evolve, I expect that campaigns will move from just one-off posts and promotions to much longer running campaigns, and it'll be more, influencers will become more of an ambassador for a brand. So to talk about the influencers and who they are and how they work, the most famous influencers are the Kardashians, and some of the figures in terms of what they've earned through influencer marketing are just crazy. So Kim Kardashian had a mobile game where she made $80 million from a branded mobile game. And Kylie's cosmetics companies did $420 million in the last 18 months. So this is how significant these influencers are and the power of their brands. Now recently there was a documentary that was on Netflix, launched on Netflix, about a festival in the US called the Fyre Festival. And if you want to know kind of how powerful influencer marketing is, I would really recommend watching this documentary because it's really interesting. It's about a festival, and essentially the product is really, really bad. It's a luxury festival, but when the attendees get there, it's anything but luxurious. But what the documentary shows is just how powerful influencers are in promoting a product. So you may have heard of #ad. There's a lot of news at the moment focused around influencers and influencer marketing, and with guidelines driven by the Advertising Standards Authority and the Competition and Markets Authority. And they're looking very closely at how influencers are working with brands and making sure that influencers are disclosing when they work with brands. Now, unfortunately, this is not an easy thing to do because there's so many different relationships a brand can have with an influencer. So for example, they could be paid to just promote a product, or they could have a long-term relationship, they could be gifted something. And there's lots of different types of influencers. So the three I showed at the start are traditional social media influencers, but in fact, celebrities and sports stars are all influencers too. And what we're seeing is that some of these more established celebrities aren't disclosing their paid promotions either. So there'll be a lot of focus on this over the next 12 months. But I've had lots of experience working with influencers, and I'm going to share a little bit of that now. So some of the key things to look out for, and then how that translates into products. So one of the key things to focus about with influencers, influencer marketing, is to focus on the engagement that an influencer has and not the subs or the subscribers that they have. So here's an example of a boy, Tekka's Kid, and he has 1.2 million people that are subscribed to his YouTube channel, which is a healthy number. But if we look at this video here, he's had more than 2 million people that have engaged with that video. And that engagement is really important because if you're a brand or you have a product and you're working with them, you want to know how many people are watching the content. And then in the middle, there's also the likes and the dislikes. So the number of people that are liking it are also a benchmark and a KPI for looking at the engagement. Now, one of the other really important things to understand is that influencers, they really know their audience better than anyone else. And there's a really great example from a YouTuber called Casey Neistat. He's a big US YouTuber, and he did an advert for Nike for this wristband that was launched a few years ago. And Nike wanted him to make a really highly produced piece of content around making it count and counting steps on the wristband. And he said, screw that, I'm going to take your money and I'm going to fly around the world and I'm going to film my journey around the world, because to me that's what it means to make it count. And this was a really, really very successful piece of content because it was very viral in its nature. And Casey knew his audience better than the brand, and he knew that they would much rather watch him having fun than create a very professional piece of content. The other thing that I find really exciting about working in this industry is that these influencers, they move really fast. It's amazing how quickly they catch on to trends and how quickly they can create content and their fans can engage with that. So I've got this picture up here of WhatsApp, and it's particularly pertinent to me because I work very closely with a number of big YouTube stars, and prior to doing this I worked at Disney. Disney's a fantastic company, but it was really slow to make things happen because there were lots of lines of responsibility and red tape. With the influencers that I work with, I communicate with them predominantly via WhatsApp, and I send them pictures of products, and we approve things in seconds rather than in weeks and months. And what that means is we're so much more agile than traditional media companies. So in terms of how this then translates to products and licensing and retail, there are many YouTubers that already sell merch, as they call it, and typically this are things like hoodies and t-shirts, and they sell them always online via shops. And so we've got Dan TDM on the left here, he's the biggest YouTuber in the UK, and Maverick, which is by Logan Paul, who's a big US YouTuber. And these guys do huge, huge volume. Maverick, I know, did more than 1 million units last year just selling online via promotion. But what I see as being the opportunity beyond this very basic merch is building licensed brands. And having left Disney, I really wanted to create a franchise with a YouTuber. And I believe that there's going to be many, many more franchises like this. So we created a brand called Hearts by Tiana. And rather than just badging products and t-shirts with her brand, we created a real DNA to the brand. So exactly what Tiana is and what she stands for and what she's not. So she's not a princess. She's a girl that lives with her parents and she plays with her friends, and that's why her fans engage with her and her content. We created a full style guide with designs and logos and assets for licensees to take and to use for products, and we created packaging so that all of the products look consistent wherever they are, exactly the same way Disney builds a franchise. And we went to Brand Licensing Europe in October last year to pitch Hearts by Tiana for the first time. And I know how popular Tiana is, but I know that there's lots of people, particularly those that don't have kids, that don't quite realize how big Tiana is. And so 2 weeks before Brand Licensing Europe, we had a pop-up shop and we launched it at the Bullring in Birmingham, and it was just for 2 days. And Tiana promoted on her channel that she was going to have this shop, and it was going to be in the Bullring for 2 days. And it was just, we were totally overwhelmed by how many people turned up. And I've got a high-speed video here of Tiana meeting and greeting some of her fans at the shop. So this is Tiana walking the line, and over the course of 2 days, 10,000 people turned up to the shop in the Bullring to meet with her. And it was fascinating because there were so many kids that loved Tiana, and so many parents that didn't even know why they were there. They were just convinced that their kids said, look, we have to go and see Tiana. And we had this shop, and the shop was just there for 2 days, and everyone thought it was there forever because it was just, it's a brand that was meant to be. And this is now Tiana leaving the shop, and more people came to see Tiana than One Direction when they were at the Bullring in Birmingham. And we and the Bullring were totally overwhelmed with just how many people were there. But this is the future of celebrities now. It's not movie stars, it's YouTubers like Tiana. But to tell you a little bit more about why YouTubers and influencers offer a really different dynamic to traditional licenses and traditional celebrities, I'm going to take you through a few examples. And this first one here is of a product integration. So we've been working with Tiana for a long time now on developing products, and she's got a new range of bedding that's going to be coming out soon. And here in the video, she's worked with some of our designers. She's worked with our licensee Character World, and we've been picking out some different designs. And here she's on screen talking about the product, and she's seeing it for the first time. And it's really authentic, the way it's done and her involvement in it. So the other thing that's been really fascinating just to see from examples like this is in her video, she's talking about the product, and immediately after the content went live, we had hundreds and hundreds of people and parents emailing us, contacting us, asking when it was available and how they can buy it. And it's amazing how quickly we can turn products around and translate that into retail experiences. So to give you a couple of other thoughts around why social media influencers are just so powerful, they're always on, they're always creating content. And when I worked for film studios, they would build a lot of their products around releases of films. So for example, Toy Story is coming out this year, Toy Story 4. It's going to be a huge film, but it will spike and it will disappear again. The difference with a YouTuber is that their fans are always engaging with them. So every day they'll come home and they'll watch their content. And not only that, but the content is really relevant. So Tiana will be playing with back to school products when it's back to school. There'll be Easter themed when it's Easter, Halloween when it's Halloween. And that means that the content and the products is always relevant. You're not shoehorning a franchise into a time of the year. The second thing is that they move really fast with trends. And here's an example. So this is Tiana's mum and dad. And these two characters are very popular in Tiana's content. Everyone knows them. And we saw that lots of fans were commenting on Tiana's parents and how there's often challenges involved within the videos. And there's Mummy Squad, who are the Mummy Squad fans, the fans of Tiana's mum, and Daddy Squad, who are the fans of Tiana's dad. And off the back of the comments that we could see in the videos and the content that was being created, we created merchandise and products relating to Mummy Squad and Daddy Squad. And overnight, we were seeing sales of products driven by the content. To give you another interesting example, the girl here is a 16-year-old YouTuber in the US called Emma Chamberlain. And it won't surprise you that she launched some products and she sold out within 29 minutes. But what was really interesting about the campaign that she had was the fact that when people went to buy them, you'll see in the image on the right, they were all pixelated. So in fact, fans bought the product without even knowing exactly what it is, but they really bought into her and the products that she was creating. Another really famous YouTuber is a girl called Jojo Siwa. And she has a very distinguished product called the Jojo Bow. And I just wondered if anyone had any idea about how many Jojo bows were sold last year. So there were 40 million Jojo bows sold in 2018 alone. So if everyone is about £10, that's nearly £500 million in Jojo bows. And I think there's more than 5,000 designs available. There's lots of examples of how influencers are having products. So here's a couple that are seen in the US now. So on the left are DIY kits. There's a YouTuber called Law DIY. She does lots of really great how-to videos. And there's branded products coming out now. And on the right-hand side is Karina Garcia. She's a big YouTuber. She creates lots of slime videos, and she's selling slime kits. I'm expecting to see lots more of products like this, and they don't have to be children, and they don't have to be toys or clothing. There's so much scope for influencer branded products. And here's a British example. So Joe Wicks made his career, or started his career on Instagram, creating short videos for cooking. And now there's already a huge range of licensed products for him, including one of the best-selling cookbooks of all time, but pots and pans and cooking ingredients. So to summarize the presentation, there's been a huge rise in social media influencers, and these guys are not going to go away. This is not a fad. This is going to go on again and again. The talent is really successful because they're relatable and they're authentic. So if I think about kids relate to that content because they know the YouTubers. And there is going to be a huge demand for their products. And I find it really interesting that I've walked around a lot of Spring Fair and I haven't seen really any influencer-led or YouTuber products, but I absolutely guarantee that in the next few years there will be more and more products inspired by these guys. And I just wanted to leave you with a thought of really around you know, how long is it until your favorite celebrity or your favorite star is a YouTuber? So you may love the Great British Bake Off and these stars here, but in fact, Cupcake Gemma on the right is a very, very famous YouTuber. She creates lots of amazing content. She's best friends with Jamie Oliver. Some of her videos are watched by more people than the Great British Bake Off. So I think there's going to be this massive shift over the next few years, and it's not just kids, it's not just millennials, it's across the whole spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you for sticking around with us. We've got plenty of time for questions if we've got some from the audience.
What's the average price that you pay a good influencer to show your brand or to show your product?
That's how long is a piece of string? It's really hard to define that. So there's no rate card for working with influencers, and it can be everything from free, where you have advocates of your brand, to more than £250,000 for Kylie Jenner. So really, I think the key thing to think about is what's the objective that you're looking to achieve with an influencer marketing campaign. Are you looking to raise awareness? Are you looking to drive traffic to your website? Are you looking to drive sales? And then really it's about finding someone that's authentic to your business. So if your business is around cupcakes, then it would be Cupcake Gemma, for example, because fans of hers love cupcakes. But if it's around a different particular niche, then it's really around focusing on that niche. And what I would say is not to go for the huge celebrities, because their audience is very big, but their engagement around your product is likely to be much lower. So I didn't answer the question, I'm afraid, because it's hard to really differentiate or to really say. Sure. So the question was around return on investment, and there's two elements to an influencer marketing campaign. The first is around driving traffic and sales, and the second is around the brand element. And it's really hard to measure the brand element. It's a bit like TV advertising, where you know lots of people watch it, but you don't know kind of the path to purchase. I think if you've got a product that you're selling directly, for example, online, it's much easier to measure that return on investment. And some of the influencers with really successful campaigns have higher return on investment than any other form of digital marketing. But it's really not kind of a one-size-fits-all, unfortunately.
Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? Nope. I think you've answered everything there, Ian. So big round of applause for Ian again, please. Thank you.